It was almost like any other evening in Stockholm, Sweden.
I received some information.
I've received information about a possible shooting in the Hammarby Sjöstad district. So we're going to go and see what's going on.
What is actually happening.
I have a feeling that we're dealing with another tragic night in Stockholm, as they often do.
He's the kind of character you only meet in the most violent neighborhoods of Brazil or the United States. An office worker by day, Michael is a paparazzi by night. As soon as a crime is reported on police frequencies, he goes to the scene as quickly as possible.
On this app, I can also follow air traffic.
Police helicopters.
I can follow police helicopters live.
They were flying in circles.
When I see them circling like that, it's usually because there's been a shooting.
Michael has 80,000 followers on his Instagram account, and his posts are getting more and more hits.
It happened about 40 minutes ago. Someone fired several bullets through the door of an apartment right here.
Apartment door.
Move over to the opposite sidewalk.
The shooting caused no casualties, but it has sent shockwaves through one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods.
Step back, please, step back. Let us work in peace.
The neighbors are stunned by the eruption of firearms at the foot of their building.
It's insane what's happening. Only a few years ago, we were one of the safest countries in the world.
This woman was dragged out of bed by the bangs.
There are shootings all the time. They're completely crazy. I'm afraid for my children.
As the nights passed in the wake of the police officers, Michael is increasingly worried.
Since the beginning of the year, I've covered 20 to 30 shootings.
20 to 30 shootings.
These are just the ones I've covered. But that's nowhere near the total number of incidences.
Since 2022, the country has recorded over 300 gang-related shootings every year. With 4 deaths per million inhabitants, compared with a European average of 1.6, Sweden has become the champion of gun deaths. The Swedes are in for a rude awakening. Sweden, land of Volvo and IKEA. With its endless forests and thousands of lakes, the land of ABBA. One of Europe's last monarchies, the kingdom has long been the cradle of welfare state and prosperity. A champion in welcoming immigrants. In Sweden, 1 in 3 inhabitants was born abroad or is the child of parents born abroad.
How dare you!
From environmental activist Greta Thunberg to gay pride, the country has a reputation for being progressive, tolerant and inclusive. Since 2018, it has also become the land of ultra-violence. In the last 3 years, the country has recorded 200 shootings, 345 explosive attacks, and 175 deaths. Sweden is facing an unprecedented upsurge in violence between gangs fighting over drug trafficking.
Sweden is a drug country. Everyone does drugs. And there's a lot of money to be made here.
In September 2023, the Conservative Prime Minister called for help.
I've summoned the National Police Chief and the Commander-in-Chief to see how the armed forces can help the police in their work against criminal gangs.
The police are overwhelmed, are discovering younger and younger murderers, sometimes as young as 15, willing to kill for a few thousand euros.
You can get 50, even 100,000 euros to put a bullet in a guy's head. And on top of the money, you gain respect. It's easy money.
In the most disadvantaged neighborhoods, the epicenter of violence, a large proportion of residents feel abandoned by the state. We conducted an investigation in the inner city and uptown areas, alongside criminals and police officers alike, in closed educational centers, and in the footsteps of far-right militants who surf on the wave of violence.
10 years ago, people saw us as racists and Nazis. They thought we were against them, that we hated them and didn't want to help them. But today it's different.
How has the rise in armed violence shattered all certainties in a country long considered a haven of peace? Gothenburg, Sweden's second largest city, it's Scandinavia's largest port and one of the country's drug trafficking strongholds. In the early 2000s, it was here that the first violence between drug traffickers broke out. In 2021, a tragedy shook the whole of Sweden.
My colleague is wounded. He's been shot. Can you hear me?
The country was horrified to see the murder of a police officer.
His name was Andreas Danman. The 33-year-old police officer was gunned down in a shootout.
The scene was the housing estate of Biskopsgården. While chatting with residents, the policeman was shot at point-blank range by a hooded man. A few days later, a 17-year-old drug dealer was arrested. A few kilometers away, just outside Gothenburg, in the middle of the forest, lies the Bergen district. Unemployment is 6 times the Swedish average. 85% of the inhabitants are of foreign origin. On the surface, it's a quiet neighborhood, but it's under the influence of drug dealers. They are the ones who chose our interlocutors, this group of young people who run a drug dealership.
We were authorized to talk to you by the local bosses, otherwise we'd never have met you.
The conditions are clear. No interviews with local residents and a maximum of 30 minutes before leaving the premises. Tarkan, born in Sweden and of Tunisian origin, seems to be the leader of the gang. From the outset, it's his young age that surprises us.
How old are you?
I'm 17.
And those who work with you?
They're 14, 15, 16. I started when I was 12, so I'm even younger. Here we sell drugs in front of everyone. Cannabis, hashish, methamphetamine, opiates, ketamine and cocaine.
Young people have set up shop along the edge of this alley. They don't hide. They're part of the landscape. Even the mothers and their strollers don't seem to mind the presence of these masked teenagers.
Aren't people afraid to see you like this in the middle of the neighborhood?
It's normal for people living on the estate. People are used to it and are aware of the level of crime in the area. If they talk to the police, we'll pay them a visit. They'll have to leave the neighborhood and their families will be threatened.
Children of immigrants from all over the world. These young people were all born in Sweden, but they find it hard to see themselves as Swedish.
Sweden is not one society, but two. There's the pretty society, which the whole world sees, and the other society, the housing estates. And life isn't easy here. People don't want to sell drugs, but they have no other choice. When you grow up here, your neighbor sells drugs. Everyone's involved in illegal activities.
Don't you think it would be better to go to school?
Some people think school will help them. Me, I don't go.
It depends on your state of mind. You can rely on school or the street to create opportunities for yourself.
The Swedish police estimate that 3 young people a day join the gangs that plague the underprivileged suburbs. They are said to be the little hands of drug trafficking bigwigs. For several days, we were in contact with a major drug trafficker in Gothenburg. To ensure our identity, he repeatedly changed the date and place of our meeting. In the end, he received us in an almost empty apartment.
This is 98% pure coke. You can come up here to smell the coke.
All we'll know about him is that he's from the Balkans and in his 30s.
I sell 5 to 10 kilos of cocaine a month. 5 to 10 kilos of shish water a week. And about 20 kilos of amphetamines a month too.
He says he makes a good living, and he has no shortage of marketing ideas to keep his customers coming back.
This is ecstasy. 5,000 pills per pack. Here, I sell Super Mario Ecstasy. Here, black Tesla. Here, Red Bull. And here, in the shape of a Heineken bottle.
Is this a way of differentiating yourself from your competitors?
Yes, on any social network, you can buy drugs just like in a market. These days, I'm not really out in the field selling drugs. I manage it from home. I send people to deliver to customers' addresses on my behalf.
Home delivery involves a whole army of couriers to supply consumers.
There are all kinds of people who want to work for us. Old people, fathers and mothers, children, all ages, but the youngest are the best. We pay them less, they're reckless and they take more risks. There's really no one better than them.
But you have no qualms about working with such young people?
No. If they don't want to, they can always go home and play soccer or video games. Right now, there's a lot of conflict between gangs. And there are even internal conflicts within some gangs.
This ultra-violent criminality is now spreading all over the country. No neighborhood is immune. Not even the telephone plane district. In the heart of Stockholm. This is where 56-year-old Mika lives.
Come on, let's go through the park.
It's one of the city's most exclusive districts. The father has come to pick up his son Louis from school. Only 1 kilometer separates the school from their apartment. On the way, there have been 2 shootings in 5 months.
There was a shooting about...
There was a shooting here about 3 weeks ago.
Happened, right here. And the whole area was...
The whole neighborhood was in shock after that. We were reading about it in the papers, but we weren't directly confronted with it, because it was happening on the outskirts of Stockholm. Now it's on our doorstep. And we have to face the questions, from this little guy here, for example, asking me if this place is safe or not.
To go to school and so forth.
The other shooting took place right here.
A father was murdered in a villa in the middle of the night. The whole of Sweden was worried.
Yeah. Disturbing.
It's really disturbing to see how things have evolved this year.
Past year or so.
Mika lives in this beautiful apartment with his wife Anna. This Swedish couple form a blended family. They have 5 children, aged from 10 to 28.
Are you good, darling?
Yes.
What did you do today?
We went on a school trip, which was great.
But I'm worried. Yes, I did.
I'm worried because the threat is getting closer. It's getting closer to us, to our lives.
Coming close to our lives. People who are
middle class or wealthy people who buy drugs recreationally.
Drugs.
They're co-financing organized crime.
Organized crime, in a way. I wouldn't say...
I'm not saying they have blood on their hands, but they're part of the problem.
Tonight, they invited a couple in their 30s over for dinner.
Hi, come here so I can kiss you.
There's Anne, 29, an anesthetist, and Joel, 27, who works in cybersecurity. 2 couples, 2 generations.
But do a lot of people your age use drugs?
Yes, lots of people, but they're always in hiding. You can't imagine what's going on.
Official statistics say that 3% of the population uses drugs. The number of overdoses in 2023 in Sweden, 94 per million inhabitants, is 4 times the European average. Yet violence linked to drug trafficking still seems a long way off for many Swedes.
But then people stop caring.
But people don't care, because for them it's young boys of foreign origin shooting at each other in their housing estates. And they don't feel concerned because they think it's a parallel society.
These young people of foreign origin living in the suburbs, they're the children of the 1.2 million immigrants that Sweden has welcomed over the last 10 years. Around the table, everyone is asking questions. Should the country's asylum policy be revised? Long the most generous in Europe.
They are in need.
These are people in need and we have to help them. That's my point of view. But we must also put in place the means to welcome them properly, here in Sweden. Most politicians say so. They've taken in too many people too quickly.
Too much too fast.
In the 80s, the social system looked after these children and offered them activities. But if you look at these neighborhoods today, they have nothing left to do. Everything has been abandoned.
To hear them tell it, the Epinal image of Sweden as a model welfare state is now outdated.
It's a bit like a house on fire. And you're sitting next to it discussing how to put it out, instead of acting quickly.
This observation is not confined to the wealthy districts of the capital, Stockholm. It is shared even within the ranks of the police. Uppsala, 70 kilometers north of Stockholm. It's the country's biggest university town, with 40,000 students for 220,000 inhabitants. This man knows the city like no one else. He's 56 years old and has 40 years of service. Daniel Larsson is Uppsala's chief of police.
At the moment, we're under code red. Shootings are expected at any moment.
Like the rest of Sweden, this seemingly tranquil town is bearing the brunt of drug-related violence.
Right here in this house, the mother of a gang leader was shot dead. She was standing at the window. Her killer arrived by surprise and shot her in the chest. This is something totally new. Before, we didn't touch girlfriends, wives, or family. Never.
The policeman notes a radical and bloody change in the criminal's modus operandi, with one aim in mind: to keep the youngest members of their network under control.
So we actually have murders.
I've already had murders of 14-year-olds who wanted to get out of organized crime. And for making that choice, they were killed. The guy who killed them filmed the scene to send a message to everyone else. Look what will happen to you if you don't do as I ask. It's like Sierra Leone or El Salvador. We've never seen such a horrible crime in Sweden before.
In September 2023, violence in Uppsala went up another notch. In this suburban neighborhood, a man is filmed fleeing after planting a bomb in the house of a rival gang member. The explosion kills an innocent 25-year-old woman. 10 houses are destroyed by the blast.
The bomb was placed between the two houses. But the person who placed the explosive put it on the wrong wall.
L'a mis sur le mauvais mur.
Were you there when it happened?
Yes, it was awful. I'll never forget the mother's screams. I don't know how the parents managed to survive the explosion.
We hope they'll be okay, that it was just a one-off, but it's horrible.
It was the worst moment of my life.
The Swedish government is investing billions of euros to hire police officers. But the number of officers, 1.9 police officers per 1,000 inhabitants, remains well below the European average. 3.2 officers per 1,000 inhabitants. That day, the officers were called to Gottsunda, the city's biggest drug dealing spot.
Two suspicious individuals dressed in black, possibly lookouts. They're riding their scooters towards the church.
Okay, let's head in their direction. You've been here a while? How long has it been?
Couple of minutes.
We got a report of two kids on scooters. Have you seen them?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything. The police faced the law of silence.
You didn't happen to see two guys dressed in black riding a scooter, did you?
No.
These kids have eyes in the back of their heads. They know almost instantly that we're around. And they disappear.
In the game of cat and mouse, dealers often win the game. Daniel Larsson is well aware of this. And yet, for him, community policing remains the most effective weapon.
There aren't many people around.
Even when the estate seems deserted.
Hi, police.
Hi, kids.
The two men are keen to show their permanent presence.
Hello, can I help you?
Je peux vous aider?
No, we're just on patrol. Is everything okay?
Yes, it's quiet.
Today, the lookouts won't be found.
We'll see if they've slashed our car tires.
Despite the constant mobilization of these men, the policeman knows that his country needs a lot more.
Are you optimistic about the future?
No.
No, you're not?
No. The country can't be fixed that easily. It can be fixed if the government puts money into social services, in adolescent psychiatry. We need to help young people by investing in the school system and do a lot more prevention so that young people don't turn to crime. But that's going to cost a lot of money, and we need to do it for at least the next 10 or 20 years.
On the contrary, over the last 10 years, the budget for social protection excluding pensions has fallen by more than 16%. It was 82.16 euros per capita in 2012, compared with 6,049 euros in 2022. Over the same period, the number of deaths by firearms has multiplied by 3. Sweden has seen weapons proliferate out of control. Yael Polyarivas, head of Uppsala's intelligence services, takes us into what looks like an armory. Except that it's all about weapons confiscated from criminals.
Pistols with silencers are seized. Before the bullet hits you, people don't have time to understand what's going on. You can only hear... This is a 9mm automatic pistol, a Czech Scorpion. It's a small, easily concealed pistol. You can install a stand to stabilize it and use it like that.
It's also one of the fastest guns around, capable of firing 850 rounds a minute. Police raids last year resulted in the seizure of almost 2,000 weapons like this.
Before
2015, those using this type of weapon were between 20 and 25 years old. Today, they're often under 18. Some are 15, 16, 17.
These weapons in the hands of the very young have fostered the emergence of a new business, that of hitmen.
You have a special shot.
Take a look at this discussion we found on an encrypted message board. Someone writes murder for 20,000 euros. Go to the indicated location and kill someone wearing a Gucci cap. You'll have to kill him if you want the money. We see a lot of these messages.
The victims, often very young, are also themselves involved in crime. Living in Sweden for 25 years, Severin Chakute is of Cameroonian origin. Father of 4 children, he led a quiet life until New Year's Eve 2020.
At around 3 a.m., I was woken up and had to get to hospital quickly. The doctor told us it was me they were waiting for because there was a decision to be made.
Her son is on life support after being shot in the head.
The bullet was so deep that it was useless. The decision was to stop everything.
Vincent was only 19.
I'm going to live with it for the rest of my life. You have to have the courage, the strength, because I have 3 others. I have to look after them.
Vincent had a troubled adolescence. At the age of 15, he was convicted of burglary, shooting fireworks at the police and drug-related offenses. He ran away from several juvenile institutions to the Rinkeby district on the outskirts of Stockholm, where he grew up with his mother.
This is Rinkeby. It's considered a bit of a ghetto. It's not really ghetto, like in France.
Rinkeby is nicknamed Little Mogadishu by the Swedes in reference to the presence of East African immigrants who make up 97% of the population. This clean city, with its impeccable buildings, is considered Sweden's most dangerous city. An average of 10 people have been shot dead every year for the past 4 years. Vincent was suspected by the police of being affiliated with the local Shottaz gang, one of the country's deadliest drug networks, very present on social networks.
I knew he hung out with these people. But he says, no, Dad, we're not doing anything wrong. They're just friends. We're just hanging out. We don't do stuff.
Yet he had spent a year behind bars for carrying illegal weapons. A few months after his release, on this video shot in the car he was in with his friends on the night of his murder, He was wearing a bulletproof vest.
He was parked there somewhere, and when he was shot in the head, the car rolled a few meters. They took off. All the local kids know exactly what happened. Nobody wanted to testify in a sort of omerta.
An omerta that Séverin tried to break by offering a reward of 3,000 euros to anyone who could find his son's killer.
Since nobody wants to live through the reprisals, everyone prefers to keep quiet.
The 7 defendants in the case have all been released for lack of evidence. Who are the teenagers involved in these deadly settlements of scores between rival gangs? A Gothenburg drug trafficker has agreed to put us in touch with a gang of minors with whom he is in contact.
We're at the metro station. I see subway, but I can't see you yet. Now I see you. Yes, I see you. It's you.
The meeting takes place in their Teenerid housing estate, in front of the elementary school. These young people consider themselves criminal mercenaries. Darko, the young man who greets us, is of Albanian origin. His colleagues, aged between 15 and 18, are also children of immigrants from Somalia, the Balkans, and North Africa.
Our missions are mainly arms transport and a lot of drug deliveries. We can also carry out armed assaults. We make a lot of money doing that.
Is it easy for you to get hold of weapons?
Yes, with the right contacts.
It's not difficult. I can have one in my hands in an hour.
We need weapons to protect ourselves from other gangs, especially to gain ground downtown. That's where the money is.
Don't you feel guilty about using weapons?
Yes, we do. But we don't think about it. You think about what the person did. If he could kill us, he would. The first time you take a life, it weighs on your conscience and then it becomes a habit.
We have no proof that they have ever used weapons to kill. But the details of their totally unabashed speeches are chilling, and their use of violence justified by a single motivation.
It's all about the money. All we want is money. Money and power.
What about your parents?
My parents gave up a long time ago.
The first conviction I ever had.
For armed robbery, I was 14. My parents realized that I was already in this world and there was nothing they could do. I can't get out of this life.
It's never going to stop. You end up behind bars or 6 feet under.
Almost all victims of shootings are gang members who fall to their deaths during settling of scores. These youngsters are hired by boys barely older than themselves. Anders is in his 30s and has already had a 15-year criminal career.
My criminal career started when I was 14-15. I've done it all. Extortion, kidnapping. I've helped plan murders.
Have you ever tried to kill anyone yourself?
Yes, I did.
Anders spent 2 years in prison for drug trafficking and illegal weapons possession.
If we employ young people, it's because when you've been in the business like me for several years in the same town, the police know who you are, where you are, and what you do. We also use young women to move weapons or drugs. It's easier for them to slip under the police radar.
We met several of these young women. Some of them agreed to talk to us, far from their neighborhoods, in central Gothenburg.
We're on encrypted messaging groups, where people propose missions. For example, they ask you to transport drugs from Gothenburg to Stockholm. There are risks involved, but for one delivery, they can give you up to 1,000 euros.
And that's really fast money.
Are there ads to kill people too?
Yes, but we don't take them. We take the easy stuff, like transporting drugs from one town to another.
All have left the school system, which is compulsory in Sweden until the age of 16. The older ones say they have already spent time in prison for attempted murder or assault and battery. We were able to confirm their statements by consulting their criminal records, which are freely available in Sweden.
My mother had money problems, that's how it started. You see the money falling and you don't want it anymore. So you take on assignments to earn more and more. It must have started for me when I was 11.
It's a bubble. Once you're in it, it's hard to get out.
Young offenders in Sweden benefit from a particularly tolerant law.
It's so easy to make money. We young people do it because we know very well that if we get caught, we'll get a maximum of 4 years in a CS. These are educational centers for minors. It's like an amusement park. When you go there, it makes no difference. In Sweden, if you're a minor, you can kill 10 people and get a maximum of 4 years in these establishments.
The young woman exaggerates. But Sweden clearly favors rehabilitation over confinement. A minor under the age of 18 convicted of a crime faces no more than 4 years in prison and will not be looked after by the prison administration, but by social services. Every year, the government spends almost €500 million on facilities for juvenile offenders. We spent a day in one of these centers, in Linköping. The place has the feel of a university campus with a prison connotation. The director shows us a unit built in a hurry to meet exploding demand.
These 2 new departments will open in a week's time. Places are not becoming available as quickly as we'd like. More and more young people need to be cared for and protected.
All in all, the center accommodates around 30 young people.
Here's a room. It looks like a hotel room.
It takes 2 months for a place to become available. In Sweden, containing violence is also a matter of money. Police manpower, justice budget, care for victims. The state has made its calculations.
It's worth noting that it would be much more expensive for society if these young people were out on the street. A gang of 20 or so members costs the Swedish state around €50 million a year. So for me, it's a good investment to invest in our young people and give them a better future.
We can film in unit number 3. 7 boys aged between 15 and 20 are taken care of here. Here, the philosophy is not to punish young offenders, but to see them as vulnerable people who need to be helped and protected.
Zahib, it's 9 a.m. Are you getting up?
There's no set time for getting up. It's up to the staff to wake me up.
I start at 10.
You can get up anyway.
That's how we live. There's a TV, movies, DVDs, a bed. That's enough. It's not prison, it's much better.
Zahib is 17. He is suspected of murder. He has been placed in SIS until the end of the investigations.
Hi Zahab, how are you this morning?
Every day the same fucking question, you!
He's been at the center for 5 months. Zahib knows his educators well.
We say hello, Zahib.
The staff are numerous. There's one supervisor for each resident.
How's your foot? What happened?
I can't even walk.
Things can always get out of hand.
Now where the hell is that doctor? I swear to God, he's got 10 minutes to get here. If he doesn't, I'm gonna lose my temper.
No, you won't.
I promise next time I won't ask nicely.
No.
Of the building's 7 residents, 5 are there for gang-related activities.
Coffee, anyone?
Attempted murder, drug trafficking, armed violence, swindling or kidnapping. Most of them already have a long history of delinquency, and they have already spent several periods in an educational center. Each new arrival is given several personal interviews.
Do you argue easily?
It depends.
Zoran, 17, arrived a week ago.
You also have to learn to find the positive qualities in these young people and highlight them, instead of repeating what's bad. They already know. They've been told all their lives.
Valuing teenagers to motivate them. Ingela and her colleagues make this a priority.
Amir, you've got English at 10 a.m. and maths at 11 a.m.
No, I'm not going. I'm staying here.
No. You know what your teacher said yesterday. You're very close to passing your exams.
For Eileen, the educator, the 200 meters that separate their neighborhood from the school building are always at a critical moment.
Hi, guys.
She has to prevent the residents of the different units from crossing paths or chatting. Not so this morning.
We try to separate them as much as we can, but here in this area it's difficult.
They're fighting each other?
They're fighting between different gangs in Sweden.
Some
of them may have killed the cousin or brother of a rival gang member.
Cousins or someone in the gang.
Taking classes isn't compulsory.
Are you starting to work?
I need a pen.
But if they agree to go to school, they receive certain benefits in return, like permission to go out or visiting rights.
This is high school freshman math. I finished elementary school, but not middle school, so it's difficult.
Each student has his or her own teacher.
666, that's?
66318.
Incredible conditions that come at a price. A young person here costs the state and the commune 1,350 euros a day. Behind his dilettante attitude, Zahib knows that this center is also a protective cocoon for him.
Sometimes I wonder what my life will be like when I get out of here. Here life is good. I don't need to have eyes in the back of my head, but when I get home it won't be the same. Maybe I'll need a gun and a bulletproof vest to protect myself.
Mirko, arrested for drug trafficking and armed violence, is on his 4th stay. He's due to be released in 5 months.
I've been locked up since I was young. I'm 19 and I haven't done anything with my life. I've always been on the run. It's not worth it anymore, this life of illegality. What's more, now that I'm registered, the slightest mistake, I'll be sent to prison. So that helps me think too. But my teacher's a genius, so I'll be fine.
Back in their unit, the school children are checked. Apart from any dangerous objects they might have stolen from the classrooms, the educators are mainly concerned with preventing phones from being smuggled in. Inside the center, communications are forbidden. Contact with the outside world must be approved by the supervisors and kept to a strict minimum. The courtyard, surrounded by barbed wire, reminds teenagers that they are deprived of their freedom of movement.
This is how we light our cigarettes. Why do we do it?
It's for safety, because if I had a lighter, I could set fire to all the buildings you see.
No matter how hard the government tries, the system has its flaws. Within these walls, established criminals rub shoulders with teenagers who have simply lost their bearings.
Young people who have committed minor offenses rub shoulders with gang members who have sometimes committed the worst. They make contacts in the criminal world and are recruited as gang members.
Then they commit crimes as soon as they get out.
That's the biggest problem here right now.
Young people who show good behavior
Zahib, tu veux parler un peu à ton frère?
can take advantage of permissions. Ingela has a restricted list of numbers that Zahib can contact.
I'll be there this weekend.
The content of conversations, however, is neither monitored nor recorded. Although suspected of murder, for his educators, Zahib is considered a model boarder.
I've been here 5 months. I'm allowed out on my own for 1 hour a day. I can make phone calls. I have a tablet. I can go home every weekend. If you earn their trust, they'll give you more freedom.
Rewarding compliance with a contract of trust. This objective is one of the pillars of the policy of these centers, sometimes with the risk of incoherence.
You didn't bring your cell phone?
I'll give it to you.
No, I don't need it.
Ah, I thought you didn't trust me.
As soon as we're through the gates, Zahib is back in possession of his personal phone, under the watchful eye of his educator.
It's true that they have a lot of rights. But the difficulty is knowing where to draw the line between rights and deprivation of freedom.
Mirko has finished his hours-accompanied walk.
I'll see you later. See you, Mirko.
See you at the center.
Zahib now has an hour to himself. All by himself.
From now on, you can talk to all the people you were in contact with before entering the center?
Yes.
Oui. Yes, I can do whatever I want with my phone. Call my friends. I can do whatever I want. But in real life, I don't do that much. I usually walk around, listen to music, then I go home.
With gang members who go through these closed centers, the recidivism rate approaches 90%. Some Swedes blame the influence of popular music, gangster rap. This music, which chronicles life in disadvantaged neighborhoods, has become a social phenomenon. Of the 3 most listened to artists in Sweden, 2 are gangster rap artists. Several of them have been charged with gang-related crimes. In 2021, rapper Einar, then #1 in the charts, was kidnapped, then murdered by a gang. Involved in one part of the case, Yasin, another gangster rap star, spent 10 months behind bars. In Swedish society, their success is the subject of debate. Are these artists pushing young people towards delinquency and easy money? Z is his stage name. Joseph Wojciechowicz in real life is a gangster rap superstar. Of Polish origin, born and raised in Sweden.
Tu peux prendre la photo, s'il te plaît?
Rapproche-toi, frérot. Un grand sourire, les potes.
Z is a collection of music victories and convictions for aggravated robbery and drug trafficking. He spent a year and a half in prison.
I like the way you pose on your songs. It gets stuck in your head. It carries you away, I think.
These young Swedes, fans of the artist, frequent Stockholm's uptown districts.
Do you think gangster rap has any influence on young Swedes outside the inner cities?
Yes, of course it does. Anyone with a cell phone and TikTok can watch videos and listen to this music every day.
Z wants to forge a new, more consensual image today, far from delinquency. But he has built his success on staging himself in music videos in which he extols weapons, luxury, and cash galore. It was during his time in prison that he wrote his first album.
When I talk about my personal experiences, I know it can help other people too. But in your clips, we see a lot of weapons and easy money. Do you think this is good advice?
Young people can also be influenced by Netflix or violent video games. It's true that some young people can misinterpret my videos.
Gangster rap is about the world of delinquency, but also a society that resists integrating these Swedes of foreign origin, who now represent 1 in 3 of the country's inhabitants.
I'm not trying to glorify crime. I'm just telling the story of what happens here. If you're looking for a cause for violence, don't turn to gangster rap. It's up to the state to do the job. And there are plenty of other problems to deal with before that.
For him, the #1 problem is racism.
If the police arrest us, it'll be fun. We'll film them too.
We accompany him to a suburb of the capital.
This is where I grew up. There are cameras everywhere. They watch every corner of the neighborhood.
Tensta, northwest of Stockholm, is ranked by the police as one of the 3 most dangerous neighborhoods in the country.
When I come back here, I've got lactic acid in my legs. I feel like running. Actually, it's post-traumatic stress. When I was a kid, every time I saw the police, I'd run because we were involved in shady business. We were dealing, doing all sorts of things.
The inhabitants here are mainly refugees who fled the war in their homeland.
They closed the places where children could play. Before, you could play ping pong and billiards. There used to be a leisure center. They abandoned us. And that's what screwed everything up. Hey, man! There aren't many Swedes here. Integration is a concept that doesn't exist. There are only immigrants here. They've crammed all these people together like cockroaches. The government knows it. The Swedish people know it. They just don't want to do anything about it. This place has been forgotten.
In a nation that has always been attentive to human rights and proud to welcome refugees, integration has run out of steam. Language learning, vocational training, social assistance, family reunification. The country has long been at the forefront of welcoming immigrants. Over the past 30 years, the Kingdom of Sweden has welcomed 2.5 million foreigners, fleeing wars in Africa, the former Yugoslavia, the Balkans and the Middle East. As recently as 2015, the country opened its doors to 160,000 Syrian refugees, more than any other European nation. And then the reception centers saturated, budgets shrank, and the model cracked. Omar El Mali, son of Lebanese immigrants, was born in Sweden. After studying sociology and criminology, he found a job in the social services of Helsingborg, his hometown. But not for long, his job has been abolished and his neighborhood is in decline.
This used to be a school, but too many immigrants came and there was too much segregation at one time. There was crime in the school.
The politicians decided to close it down and it's empty now.
His Söder neighborhood used to be a popular multicultural area. Repeated cuts in the budgets allocated to integration policy have hit the most disadvantaged hardest. In Söder, teenagers no longer have a place to gather.
Hi there. Hi, how are you?
It's Omar who's now mobilizing for the young people in his neighborhood.
Come on, jump rope!
With his friend Mustafa, a world champion in Thai boxing, they organize weekly training sessions.
Youssef here. He became Swedish junior champion. And since then?
Yeah, I've noticed.
He's causing less trouble. He's concentrating more on his training. I think that's it too. You have to show young people what they're capable of.
They have to believe in themselves.
It's not as easy as people think. I'm not going to get them off the streets and expect them to come to the training room straight away. They'll always be torn between, on the one hand, life on the street and us here. I'm up against some strong competitors.
Such as Youssef Chama, a young Lebanese who won the Swedish championship at the age of 16.
When I came to Sweden, I hung out with a lot of young people who caused trouble and tried to get me involved in their affairs. But since I've come here to train and met Mustafa, they helped me a lot in life.
Omar's parents are of Syrian and Lebanese origin. Both arrived in Sweden over 30 years ago as refugees. Welcomed with open arms, they immediately obtained Swedish passports.
It was a dream country. Really great. And I love Sweden. I came here without my mother. And I feel that Sweden is my mother. They helped me. And after 6 months, I was speaking Swedish. When Omar was born, my sister said he had the right to several nationalities. But I said no. Omar would only be Swedish.
30 years later, Gian was disillusioned. With her salary as a nursery nurse, she has to support her entire family. Her children, Omar and Hassan, unemployed despite their diplomas, still live with her.
We grew up in a generation. We were promised lots of things. We were told if you study, everything will work out for you. With the Swedish dream of studying and buying a house and a Volvo in mind. But that was a lie.
We're wondering how we'll manage to live here.
If the situation gets worse, we have to think about our children. They're Swedish. This is their country.
In Sweden, with the rise in violence, the tone against the immigrant population has hardened.
You may not agree with me, but the truth is that many immigrants have behaved badly. On the one hand, I understand the Swedes. They've had enough. But they too need to understand that they can't lump us all together.
For the far right, it's this generous asylum policy that has fueled violence and delinquency. Södertälje, an hour west of Stockholm. This industrial city has seen many episodes of gang-related violence. The far right are the Sweden Democrats, the SD, the country's second largest political force since the 2022 legislative elections. For the past 3 years, they have been making a dazzling breakthrough in affluent neighborhoods.
Hello, do you know who you'll be voting for in the European elections?
No, I haven't yet.
Have a nice day.
These far-right local councillors are campaigning on the eve of the European elections. The SD program is clear: an end to immigration, and sending some foreigners back to their countries of origin.
I think they're the best party at the moment, the most realistic.
After a stint in the city centre, it's in the underprivileged districts that the SDs want to make their mark. In the Rona district, 90% of the population are immigrants. Unemployment rate 50%.
The SD? But there are only foreigners in the district.
That's a good thing. It's our fastest growing group of voters.
But you're not a racist?
No. Don't forget to vote.
Andrea hammers home her party's intentions to put an end to crime. Double prison sentences and lower the age of criminal responsibility from 15 to 13.
What do you think of the situation in the city at the moment?
It's not good, unfortunately. It's gotten a lot worse recently. We're afraid to go out when it's dark.
Taking advantage of people's feeling of insecurity is one of their best assets.
Take a look at our program and above all, go out and vote.
More and more second and third generation immigrants who have obtained Swedish nationality share the ideas of this extreme right.
Do you speak Swedish? Do you speak Arabic?
Such is the case of Sami, a Palestinian who has become an activist in the ranks of the SD.
Is our program for the European elections.
It was insecurity that made him join the party.
10 years ago, people saw us as racists and Nazis. They thought we were against them, that we hated them and didn't want to help them. But today it's different. If you look at where the crimes are happening in the city, it's in these neighborhoods. And it's the foreigners who live here who are on the front line of the violence. It's not the Swedes. They left these neighborhoods a long time ago.
The SD party, originally founded by members of neo-Nazi groupuscules in the late 80s, has since polished its image and adapted its discourse.
We've had big problems for taking in so many people. But it's not the people that are the problem, it's the politics. I came here in 2015. I fought to get here. I worked for it. Now I have 2 businesses, almost 25 employees. That's great! That's what we want from the people who come here, that they make an effort to contribute. I don't think you should stay at home and live on welfare. You came here, so fight. You come to a country. You have to respect it and respect its laws.
Are you thinking of voting for them then?
I might.
Between far-right militants and Swedes who want to continue believing in their historic model of assistance and welcome, the debate has never been so tense in Sweden.